Look at your current career situation. If you're not exactly where you want to be, there's a good chance you're falling victim to several of these 20 silent career killers I'm about to break down. I was making 16 of these mistakes myself until a mentor pointed them out to me. Within 6 months of fixing them, I received 2 promotions that had eluded me for years. This isn't random luck. It's about removing the invisible barriers most people never identify. The skill development trap. Why learning stops after promotion. Ever wonder why some people get promoted quickly, then seem to fade into workplace obscurity? It's a pattern I've seen countless times. That rising star, who impressed everyone, suddenly stops growing, trapped in what I call the skill development trap. Here's what happens. You work hard, master your role, and finally get that promotion you've been chasing. Then something subtle shifts. You've reached a comfortable position with decent pay and respect from colleagues. Suddenly, the urgency to learn new skills disappears. After all, you've made it, right? Wrong. This comfort zone becomes an invisible ceiling that limits your future potential. While you're coasting on yesterday's knowledge, your industry continues evolving at breakneck speed. The technologies, methodologies, and skills needed for success are changing quarterly, creating a widening gap between what you know and what's actually required to advance. A recent LinkedIn Workplace Learning report revealed something troubling. While 87% of professionals believe training directly impacts their productivity and workplace satisfaction, only 29% of millennials actively engage in learning opportunities. That disconnect creates the perfect conditions for career stagnation. The true danger isn't immediate. You won't be fired tomorrow. The real threat is waking up 5 years from now with an outdated skill set that makes you increasingly irrelevant in your field. By then, the knowledge gap might be too wide to bridge quickly. What's particularly concerning is that companies recognize this issue. According to Deloitte's Global Human Capital Trends report, 69.2% of organizations now list skill mobility as a critical concern. Yet most employees aren't taking advantage of these development opportunities their employers offer. This isn't just about technical skills like coding or data analysis. As you advance in your career, soft skills like communication, emotional intelligence, and leadership become increasingly important. Research from the Stanford Research Institute shows that 75% of long-term job success depends on soft skills, while only 25% depends on technical knowledge. The solution? Create a personal development plan with quarterly learning goals, just like you'd set business objectives. Be specific about what skills you need to develop and how you'll acquire them. Whether it's online courses, industry certifications, mentorship, or hands-on projects, the key is consistency. By investing just 5 hours weekly in continuous learning, about 1 hour each workday, you'll not only stay relevant, but position yourself as the go-to expert when new opportunities arise. Those who maintain a learning mindset don't just keep pace with change, they anticipate it, giving them a tremendous competitive advantage. The golden handcuffs syndrome, comfortable but going nowhere. That competitive advantage you just developed? It could be your biggest career trap. While your learning mindset positions you well, there's an insidious problem lurking in your professional life, one that might feel suspiciously comfortable. I'm talking about golden handcuff syndrome, where your impressive salary and stability become the very things preventing your growth. LinkedIn's research reveals something shocking. The number one reason people quit jobs isn't money. It's lack of growth opportunities. Yet thousands of professionals remain stuck in well-paying positions that slowly drain their potential, convincing themselves they're making the rational choice. We've all been there. The job pays well enough, the benefits are decent, your colleagues aren't terrible, but something significant is missing. That spark, that sense of purpose, that feeling you're building towards something meaningful. Each morning brings that subtle feeling of dread as you prepare for another day of going through the motions. Here's the brutal truth. Every year you spend in this comfortable prison costs you thousands in future earnings. When you stop stretching your capabilities, you're not just sacrificing fulfillment, you're actively sabotaging your financial future. The skills gap widens between you and more adventurous peers who continue pushing boundaries and developing new competencies. This comfort trap becomes especially dangerous in your 30s. What started as a sensible choice, "I'll stay for the stability," gradually transforms into golden handcuffs that feel impossible to break. The psychological weight of walking away from that security becomes heavier with each passing year. Let me share a quick example. A former client worked at his family business for years, earning good money but feeling increasingly unfulfilled. The path seemed predetermined, stay until retirement. Only after connecting with a mentor did he realize his creative talents were withering. Despite initial terror at leaving that security, he eventually transitioned to an advertising agency where his skills flourished, ultimately doubling his income within 3 years. The most insidious part? The way we rationalize staying put. "I'll make a change someday when the timing is better." But without deliberate action, that someday conveniently never arrives. Life gets more complex, responsibilities increase, and the golden handcuffs tighten. Breaking free starts with brutal honesty. Ask yourself, when was the last time you learned something genuinely new at work? Do you still feel energized by what you do? If offered your current job today, would you take it again? If these answers make you uncomfortable, it's time for action. The salary negotiation blind spot, leaving money on the table. Brutal honesty about your salary might be the wake call your bank account desperately needs. Think you're being paid what you're worth? The math tells a different story. Every time you accept that first offer without negotiation, you're not just losing money today, you're slashing your earning potential for years to come. Let's talk numbers that might make you uncomfortable. That $5,000 salary increase you didn't ask for at age 30? It compounds into over $600,000 in lost lifetime earnings. That's not a typo. That's the real cost of your silence during salary discussions. Most professionals never realize they're building their own financial ceiling with every negotiation they avoid. The gender gap in negotiations makes this even more troubling. Research shows women typically ask for 30% less than men in similar positions. This isn't just a one-time loss, it's a compounding disadvantage that follows them throughout their careers, widening the pay gap with every missed opportunity to assert their value. By your 30s, this problem gets significantly worse. Employers actually expect you to know your market value and advocate for yourself. Here's the part most people don't realize. 85% of employers build negotiation room into their initial offers. They're literally budgeting for you to ask for more money, and when you don't, you're leaving their money sitting on the table. Many professionals avoid negotiation because they fear appearing greedy or jeopardizing the offer entirely. This fear costs them thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands over their careers. The reality is, employers expect the negotiation dance. It's part of the professional process. The most damaging mistake isn't just accepting too little, it's focusing solely on base salary. Smart negotiators look beyond the paycheck to the total compensation package. Flexible work arrangements, professional development budgets, equity options, and additional vacation time can dramatically improve your quality of life and career trajectory. Effective salary negotiation isn't about making demands, it's strategic preparation. This means researching industry salary standards, documenting your specific achievements and value, and practicing responses to common objections before you ever sit down at the table. When you approach negotiation as collaborative problem-solving rather than confrontation, you can increase your compensation by 10 to 20% without damaging professional relationships. The network illusion: connections without relationships. Money talks, but relationships walk you through doors you didn't even know existed. Think your impressive contact list equals a powerful network? There's a troubling disconnect between what most professionals consider networking and what actually moves careers forward. And this gap might explain why your phone isn't ringing with opportunities. Let's be brutally honest. That impressive 500+ connections badge on your LinkedIn profile probably isn't doing much for your career. The networking illusion happens when we mistake quantity for quality, collecting digital business cards while failing to build the meaningful relationships that actually create opportunities. While you're clicking connect with strangers after conferences, your more strategic colleagues are investing time in fewer, deeper relationships that yield real results. The difference is striking. Research confirms that 85% of jobs get filled through networking. But here's the critical part most miss. This only happens when those networks contain strong, reciprocal relationships built on trust, not casual acquaintances who barely remember meeting you. Consider this reality check. 5 deep connections who would enthusiastically advocate for you carry significantly more career-advancing power than 500 people who would need to check your profile to remember who you are. Quality trumps quantity every time when it comes to professional relationships that actually deliver value. The most common networking mistake happens when professionals only reach out when they need something. This creates transactional relationships that quickly deteriorate because nobody wants to feel used. Your network can sense when you view them as resources rather than relationships. Building genuine professional connections requires consistent investment before you ever need help. This means sharing valuable industry insights, making introductions between your contacts who could benefit from knowing each other, and offering support without expecting immediate returns. The investment pays dividends when opportunities naturally flow your way through these established channels of trust. The most successful networkers follow what I call the 5-who-1 rule. Provide value at least 5 times before asking for anything in return. This approach transforms how people respond when you do eventually need assistance. Rather than feeling obligated, they're genuinely happy to help someone who's already demonstrated generosity. Akhilesh Hora, an expert on professional networking, emphasizes that not every networking attempt will succeed, but failures become learning opportunities when approached with a growth mindset. Analyzing your past experiences, seeking constructive feedback, and revising your approach based on what works creates a continuously improving networking strategy. The cybersecurity industry clearly demonstrates how valuable strong professional connections can be, providing knowledge exchange, career development opportunities, and community building that isolated professionals simply can't access. The invisible personal brand, why nobody knows your value. Your network might be impressive on paper, but your personal brand determines whether people remember you for the right reasons. Unlike your professional connections that open doors, a personal brand is what makes others want you to walk through them. And right now, whether you've crafted it intentionally or not, you have a reputation that's either working overtime for your career or quietly undermining your potential. Think about your colleagues with similar technical skills who consistently get tapped for the best opportunities. The difference isn't just luck, it's their crystal clear personal brand. While you're putting your head down and producing quality work, they're simultaneously shaping how decision makers perceive their unique value. Your personal brand isn't simply your job title or what you claim about yourself in meetings. It's the collective impression people form about your skills, work style, and professional value. This impression follows you everywhere, from hallway conversations to promotion discussions you're not even present for. The scary reality? It operates whether you manage it or not. The most damaging branding mistake professionals make is the inconsistency between self-perception and how others actually see them. You might consider yourself an innovative problem solver, but if your colleagues primarily view you as a reliable executor who follows directions well, this disconnect creates confusion about your true value proposition. This matters tremendously because your reputation guides which opportunities come your way. When leaders discuss who should lead an exciting new project, they're mentally filtering through personal brands, not just skill sets. They're asking, who's known for excellence in this area? If your brand isn't clearly established, you simply won't come to mind. The solution requires intentional brand development. First, gain clarity about your authentic strengths, not just what you're good at, but where you genuinely excel compared to peers. Then communicate these strengths consistently through your work contributions, conversations, and professional presence. Finally, collect evidence that validates your claims, results, testimonials, and concrete examples that prove your brand isn't just talk. Start with a simple but powerful exercise. Ask 5 to 10 trusted colleagues how they would describe your professional strengths and contributions in 3 words. Compare their answers to how you see yourself. The gaps reveal where your personal brand needs reinforcement or redirection. For brand building that sticks, focus on consistency across all touchpoints. Your LinkedIn profile, email communication style, meeting contributions, and project approaches should all tell the same compelling story about who you are professionally. The mentorship gap, flying solo when you need a co-pilot. Building a professional brand matters, but even the most polished reputation can't compete with the hidden advantage that top performers leverage. Ever wonder why some colleagues seem to make all the right moves while you're still figuring out the rules of the game? The difference often isn't talent or work ethic. It's having strategic guidance from someone who's already navigated the path you're on. The data is crystal clear. Professionals with mentors get promoted 5 times more frequently than those without. Yet shockingly, only 37% of us actively seek out this career supercharger. Why do so many talented people insist on figuring everything out the hard way? For many professionals, especially in their 30s, asking for guidance feels like admitting weakness. This couldn't be further from the truth. The most successful people in every industry, from tech titans to finance legends, rely heavily on mentorship networks. They understand that seeking advice isn't a sign of incompetence, but rather strategic intelligence. The mentorship drought hits hardest precisely when you need it most, during your 30s, when career paths become increasingly complex. This is when the stakes grow higher, and decisions have long-lasting consequences. While you're struggling to decode unwritten workplace rules, your mentored colleagues are receiving invaluable shortcuts and insider knowledge that no training program could provide. Here's where many professionals go wrong. They search for one perfect, all-knowing mentor who will guide them through every aspect of their career. That unicorn doesn't exist. The most effective approach is building what experts call a personal board of directors, a diverse group of advisors who each bring different strengths and perspectives to your career development. Your mentorship strategy needs to be targeted. Don't just seek successful people. Find those who've achieved the specific outcomes you're aiming for. Want to transition industries? Find someone who's made that exact move, looking to balance work with family life. Connect with professionals who've mastered that juggling act. The best mentorship relationships aren't one-sided. Even seasoned executives gain value from mentoring up-and-coming talent. They receive fresh perspectives on emerging technologies, insights into changing workplace dynamics, and connections to newer networks. Make it clear from the start that you're offering value, not just taking it. Finding great mentors isn't about luck, it's about intentional connection. Start by identifying specific areas where you need guidance, then look through your extended network for people who excel in those domains. Industry events, professional associations, and alumni network. The comfort zone penalty. Playing it safe until it's too late. Those career-accelerating relationships won't help much if you're stuck in the safety trap that derails more careers than almost any other factor. Your brain is literally wired to avoid discomfort. But here's the career-killing paradox. The very discomfort you're avoiding is exactly what creates the growth your future depends on. The brutal truth is that many professionals convince themselves they're being strategic by sticking to what they already know. I'm playing to my strengths, they tell themselves. I'm focusing on what I do best. This sounds wise, but it's often just fear wearing a business suit. Let's talk brain science for a moment. When you tackle something unfamiliar, your brain forms new neural connections. These fresh pathways don't just help you with that specific challenge, they enhance your overall problem-solving abilities. Each time you step beyond what feels comfortable, you're literally rewiring your brain to become more adaptable and creative. Statistics show that professionals who embrace discomfort and take calculated risks in their careers tend to advance faster than those who play it safe. It's not just about learning new skills, it's about building a reputation as someone who can handle complexity and uncertainty, which becomes increasingly valuable as you move up. The most dangerous aspect of comfort zone living hits during your 30s. This critical decade is when specialization and differentiation become essential for continued advancement. While your peers are volunteering for challenging projects that showcase their adaptability, you might be perfecting skills that aren't setting you apart. I've seen this pattern repeatedly with clients. One technology manager avoided cloud migration projects because they felt overwhelming, only to watch younger colleagues become the go-to experts when the company finally made the shift. What seemed like a safe choice, sticking with on-premise systems he knew well, ultimately diminished his value to the organization. Breaking free doesn't require dramatic career changes. The sweet spot for growth is tasks that feel about 20% beyond your current capabilities, challenging enough to stretch you, but not so far that they overwhelm you. This might mean volunteering for that cross-functional project, learning a programming language, or simply speaking up more in executive meetings. The professionals who accelerate their careers often point to specific challenging projects that force them to adapt and learn. One client shared how temporarily leading a struggling team, something she initially resisted, gave her visibility with senior leadership that led to her next promotion. The industry Blindside, missing the shifts that will make you obsolete. Those career-stretching experiences are valuable, but they might be creating a dangerous blind spot. While you're developing expertise in your current role, entire industries are transforming at an unprecedented pace. This isn't just about staying competitive, it's about staying relevant. Think about the Blockbuster employees who were mastering video rental processes while Netflix was completely reinventing how people consume entertainment. They weren't bad at their jobs, they were excellent at skills that suddenly didn't matter anymore. This same scenario is playing out across countless industries right now. The numbers are sobering. Emerging technologies will significantly reshape 60% of jobs in the coming years. Yet, most professionals aren't actively preparing for these shifts. They're focused on excelling at today's requirements while tomorrow's foundations are being rebuilt beneath them. This vulnerability peaks in your 30s, precisely when you've invested significant time developing expertise. After spending a decade becoming proficient in your field, industry disruption can suddenly devalue those hard-earned skills. The accounting profession illustrates this perfectly, with projections showing the market reaching $735 billion by 2025. Yet 58% of accounting professionals expect to automate significant portions of their work with AI within just 3 years. Many professionals fall into a dangerous trap, confusing being good at their current job with being prepared for their industry's future. They master existing systems and processes while missing the technological tsunamis approaching on the horizon. Excellence today creates a false sense of security about tomorrow. The most valuable career skill isn't perfecting today's tools. It's developing what I call an opportunity radar that identifies emerging trends before they become obvious to everyone else. This means lifting your head up from daily tasks to scan for signals that your industry is evolving. Protecting yourself requires dedicated time each week exploring industry publications, attending conferences, even virtual ones, and connecting with professionals in adjacent fields. Finance, accounting, and technology professionals particularly need this radar as automation and AI reshape essential job functions. The professionals who thrive through industry shifts position themselves at the intersection of current expertise and emerging trends. They don't abandon their hard-earned skills. They evolve them by understanding how new technologies and approaches can amplify their existing knowledge. The money mirage, chasing salary at the expense of growth. Beyond evolving your skills lies another silent career killer, the salary trap. That $10,000 pay bump might feel great today, but what if it's actually costing you 6 figures in lost earnings over the next decade? When faced with 2 job offers, most of us instinctively choose the higher salary. It seems logical, right? But this short-term thinking creates an invisible ceiling that may be limiting your financial future more than you realize. The research is eye-opening. Professionals who strategically choose growth over immediate compensation during their 30s don't just experience gradual income increases, they often see exponential earnings growth as they enter their 40s and beyond. This mathematical reality becomes more pronounced mid-career, when the compounding effect of skill acquisition starts to separate the career trajectories of otherwise similar professionals. What's particularly dangerous is how we evaluate job opportunities. We fixate on base salary while completely overlooking the true value of skill acquisition, network expansion, and strategic industry positioning. It's like focusing on the size of your paycheck today while ignoring the size of your potential tomorrow. The career journeys of the most financially successful professionals often include surprising moves that might seem counterintuitive. Many take strategic lateral positions or even temporary pay cuts to gain experience in high-growth sectors. I've seen professionals accept $15,000 salary reductions to move into emerging technology roles, only to double their previous earnings within 3 years as their specialized skills became increasingly valuable in the marketplace. When evaluating your next career move, looking beyond the immediate numbers is crucial. Ask yourself, will this role teach you valuable skills that will remain relevant for years? Will it connect you with industry leaders who can open doors to future opportunities? Does it position you for advancement in sectors with expanding demand? About 74% of employees report that limited professional development is preventing them from reaching their full potential. This statistic reveals a widespread awareness of the growth versus salary dilemma, yet many still choose the immediate paycheck boost over long-term capability building. I've noticed a pattern among professionals who regret their career choices. Many selected roles primarily for financial benefits, only to experience burnout and dissatisfaction when those roles failed to expand their capabilities or position them for future advancement. The short-term comfort became a long-term trap. Your personal brand also plays a crucial role in this equation. Professionals who cultivate their expertise and reputation within growth-oriented positions often attract better opportunities without even applying. Their demonstrated commitment to development makes them magnets for high-value roles that others must compete fiercely to obtain. The burnout blind spot, working harder until you break. That dedication to development that makes you a magnet for opportunities, it becomes worthless when you're too burned out to capitalize on them. Think you're proving your worth by being first in and last out of the office? The science tells a completely different story. One where your extra hours might actually be destroying your career potential rather than building it. The data is clear. Pushing beyond 50 hours per week doesn't make you more productive. It makes you dramatically less effective. Once you cross the 55-hour threshold, your output doesn't just plateau. It takes a nosedive, even as you invest more time. I've seen brilliant professionals deliver their worst work at midnight, only to spend the next morning fixing mistakes they'd never make when well-rested. This burnout trap becomes especially dangerous in your 30s when the perfect storm hits. Your professional responsibilities are expanding just as your personal commitments are growing. Maybe you're starting a family, caring for aging parents, or managing a mortgage. The pressure compounds from both directions. What's particularly deceptive is how we wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. In countless workplace cultures, the person sending emails at 11 p.m. gets praised for their dedication, rather than questioned about their inefficiency. This mindset creates a toxic competitive environment where everyone loses, especially your cognitive function. Chronic stress doesn't just make you tired, it fundamentally impairs the brain functions essential for career advancement. Your creativity, decision-making ability, and emotional intelligence all deteriorate under sustained pressure. These aren't just nice-to-have skills, they're the exact capabilities that separate leaders from the pack. The solution isn't working less hard, it's working more strategically. This means establishing firm boundaries between work and recovery time, yet then defending those boundaries as fiercely as you would an important client meeting. Recovery isn't optional, it's the foundation that makes high performance possible. What would change if you started viewing your personal time as a critical investment in your professional capacity? Smart professionals are now scheduling recovery periods with the same priority as their most important work commitments. They recognize that performance isn't about constant output, it's about managing energy cycles that allow for sustainable results. The physiological reality is unavoidable. Your body and brain require downtime to function optimally. Implementing structured recovery techniques, like regular breaks, physical movement, and mindfulness practices, doesn't just prevent burnout, it significantly enhances your overall productivity and decision quality. The invisible achievement trap: doing great work nobody remembers. Your structured recovery routine might be flawless, but there's another silent career killer lurking in plain sight. Ever notice how some colleagues seem to get praised for average work while your exceptional contributions fade into the background? You're likely caught in the invisible achievement trap. Think about this: when your boss is deciding who deserves that promotion, they can only recall about 30% of what you've accomplished. That's right, 70% of your hard work might as well never have happened when it matters most. This memory gap isn't personal, it's simply human nature. Your manager is juggling dozens of priorities and team members, making it impossible to track everyone's contributions without help. This achievement gap becomes especially problematic in your 30s. At this stage, career advancement depends less on simply completing assigned tasks and more on demonstrating consistent, meaningful impact. The problem? Most professionals mistakenly believe their work will speak for itself. They put their heads down, deliver excellent results, and then wonder why they're overlooked for opportunities that go to more vocal colleagues. Many professionals make the mistake of assuming good work speaks for itself, when in reality, most decision makers have limited visibility into your daily contributions, explains career strategist Melissa Thompson. This visibility problem compounds over time, creating an increasingly wide gap between your actual value and how others perceive it. The solution isn't just keeping a basic list of completed projects. Effective achievement tracking requires documenting specific results, quantifying your impact whenever possible, and explicitly connecting your work to organizational priorities. For example, instead of noting redesigned customer onboarding process, capture redesigned customer onboarding process, reducing time to value by 45% and increasing new customer satisfaction scores from 3.2 to 4.7 out of 5. This is where a victory file becomes invaluable. Create a dedicated folder, digital or physical, where you collect emails of praise, project outcomes, metrics showing improvement, and testimonials from colleagues or clients. Update it weekly so nothing falls through the cracks. This resource becomes gold during performance reviews, job interviews, or when unexpected opportunities arise. Gender and cultural differences also affect how achievements are communicated. Research shows women often underreport their successes compared to men, creating additional visibility challenges. Similarly, professionals from cultures that emphasize humility may struggle to highlight individual accomplishments, preferring to focus on collective results. Your documentation system doesn't need to be complex. A simple spreadsheet or note-taking app works perfectly. The key is consistency and specificity. Each entry should answer, what did I accomplish? What impact did it have? How did it align with organizational goals? Who benefited or noticed? The single income vulnerability, betting your future on one paycheck. Documenting your achievements might help your career visibility, but what happens when there's nothing left to document? While you're meticulously tracking your wins at work, there's a financial vulnerability that could derail everything you've built. The shocking reality? A quarter of households earning over $150,000 annually have less than $1,000 in savings. This isn't just a budgeting problem. It's a career trap waiting to snap shut. Every day, thousands of professionals go to work with a dangerous assumption that their single paycheck will be there tomorrow, next month, and next year. But the employment landscape tells a different story. Millennials are on track to hold 12 different jobs throughout their working lives, far more than previous generations. What's more, they're 15% more likely than older workers to be open to new opportunities, creating a job market that's constantly in flux. This single-source income dependency creates a particularly dangerous situation in your 30s. It's the perfect storm. Your financial obligations are typically growing: mortgages, childcare, aging parents, while job security is simultaneously decreasing. Many professionals find themselves trapped, unable to make career moves based on growth because they're completely dependent on their current paycheck. The psychology of this trap is fascinating. When your entire financial life depends on one source, you make different decisions, often more conservative ones. You might avoid speaking up about problems, skip applying for roles that could advance your career, or stay in toxic environments far longer than you should. This isn't just about money. It's about your freedom to make choices without fear. Creating financial flexibility doesn't mean quitting your job to drive for Uber. It's about strategically developing parallel streams of income that leverage your existing skills and interests. This might mean consulting in your area of expertise, creating digital products based on your knowledge, or building investment income that grows gradually over time. The beauty of multiple income streams is that you don't need to replace your entire salary overnight. Even a side project generating $500 monthly creates a psychological safety net that changes how you approach career decisions. That extra income represents options, the ability to take a calculated risk or weather an unexpected career transition without immediate financial panic. Financial diversification also creates unexpected professional benefits. Skills developed through side projects often become valuable in your primary career. One marketing director I worked with started a weekend photography business that eventually led to her leading visual campaigns at her main job, a skill her peers couldn't match. The communication void: your career goals are a secret, even to your boss. Those side hustles might strengthen your financial foundation, but your career could still be crumbling due to an invisible problem. Your goals are trapped inside your head. The painful truth is that while you're quietly hoping someone notices your potential, your colleagues who actually voice their ambitions are getting fast-tracked to opportunities you don't even know exist. Here's a shocking reality check. 70% of managers report being completely blindsided when employees resign. Think about that for a second. These are people who work with you daily, yet they have no idea what you actually want from your career. This communication gap isn't just uncomfortable. It's actively holding you back from advancement. This problem hits especially hard in your 30s, when career paths stop looking like neat ladders and start resembling complex jungle gyms. Without explicitly sharing your goals, you're essentially forcing your manager to guess what opportunities might interest you. And let's be honest, they're probably guessing wrong. Many professionals stay silent about their aspirations out of fear. What if I say I want to lead a department someday but never get there? What if my boss thinks I'm being presumptuous? This fear keeps your career goals locked in a vault that nobody, especially not decision makers, can access. The result? That exciting new project that perfectly aligns with where you want to go gets handed to someone else who simply spoke up. That conference attendance you'd kill for goes to a colleague who mentioned their interest. The mentorship relationship that could transform your career never forms because nobody knows you need it. According to the 2024 Career Optimism Index, there's a massive perception gap in organizations. 62% of companies believe they offer plenty of internal mobility opportunities, but only 36% of workers agree. This disconnect often stems from poor communication about available positions and how they're shared with employees. Effective career conversations aren't about making demands or ultimatums. They're collaborative discussions that transform your manager from a passive observer into an active partner in your growth. The most successful approach involves regular, structured talks about your aspirations, skills you need to develop, and how these goals align with the organization's needs. Research consistently shows that employees who actively engage in career conversations with their managers are significantly more likely to receive promotions and advancement opportunities. It's not just about getting noticed. It's about the network neglect syndrome, connections that wither away. Creating valuable connections is just the first step. It's what you do after that initial handshake that truly determines whether those relationships become career assets or forgotten acquaintances. That LinkedIn connection who could open doors to your dream company? They probably don't even remember your name anymore. You've mastered making a great first impression at industry events, collecting business cards like they're going out of style. But what happens next? For most professionals, the answer is absolutely nothing. Those promising connections slowly fade away, becoming digital ghosts in your contact list, rather than living, breathing relationships that generate opportunities. While you're letting those relationships collect dust, your more strategic colleagues are systematically nurturing their networks, gaining insider knowledge about industry shifts, upcoming job openings, and collaborative projects that never make it to public listings. The difference isn't in who they know, it's in how they maintain those connections over time. The truth is that genuine relationship building isn't complicated, but it does require intentionality. Imagine sending a relevant article to a key contact with a personal note explaining why you thought of them, or congratulating someone on their recent professional achievement you noticed on LinkedIn. These small actions take minutes, but build the foundation of authentic connection. What makes network neglect particularly costly in your 30s is that this decade represents a critical career inflection point. As you progress toward more senior roles, technical skills become table stakes, while your ability to leverage relationships becomes the true differentiator. The connections you've nurtured for years can provide crucial recommendations, insider perspectives, and sponsorship when leadership opportunities arise. One of the biggest mistakes professionals make is treating networking as transactional, only reaching out when they need something. This approach feels inauthentic and quickly erodes goodwill. People can sense when they're being used rather than valued. Building genuine relationships means engaging consistently, offering help, and sharing insights long before you need anything in return. The good news? You don't need to maintain constant contact with everyone. Strategic network maintenance is about quality interactions with key connections based on shared interests. Creating a simple system where you reach out to your most valuable contacts quarterly ensures these relationships stay warm without becoming overwhelming. A quick coffee, thoughtful email, or even just sharing an interesting industry development can keep the connection alive. Turning around networking failures doesn't require a complete personality makeover. By adopting a growth mindset and analyzing what went wrong in past networking attempts, you can revise your approach. Sometimes the most valuable connections come from unexpected places, which is why consistent engagement across your network, not just with obvious power players, often yields surprising opportunities. The change resistance trap, clinging to the way things were. While your network determines who knows about opportunities, your response to change determines whether you'll be considered for them at all. Ever wonder why some of your equally talented coworkers seem to thrive during organizational shakeups, while you feel like you're drowning? The difference isn't skill, it's how you handle the discomfort of abandoning the way things have always been done. Let's be real. When your company announces a new project management system or restructuring plan, your first reaction probably isn't excitement. That's completely normal. Our brains are wired to protect us from uncertainty. But here's where career trajectories start to diverge. While you're complaining about learning another platform, your adaptable colleagues are already positioning themselves as solution finders during the transition. This resistance becomes particularly problematic in your 30s. You're experienced enough to have established comfortable routines, but likely lack the authority to influence organizational decisions. You're stuck in the awkward middle, expected to implement changes you didn't choose while managing your own resistance to them. The psychology behind change resistance is fascinating. When faced with workplace transitions, our brains activate the same regions associated with physical pain. We instinctively focus on potential losses rather than gains, creating a negativity bias that clouds our judgment. This isn't just an attitude problem, it's a hardwired response that requires conscious effort to overcome. Many professionals make a critical mistake during transitions. They confuse implementation concerns with resistance to the change itself. There's a world of difference between this new CRM system won't work because our customer data is too complex, and how can we modify this system to accommodate our unique customer data? The first response marks you as an obstacle, the second positions you as a problem solver. Creating a supportive company culture makes this transition easier. Organizations that value open communication help employees feel valued even during periods of change. When leadership actively seeks employee input during transitions, resistance naturally decreases as people feel ownership in the process. Transforming your approach starts with acknowledging your emotional response without letting it dictate your actions. Try the yes and technique borrowed from improv comedy. Acknowledge the reality of the situation, then build constructively upon it. Instead of fighting against the current, ask yourself, given that this change is happening, how can I use it to showcase my adaptability and problem-solving skills? By becoming known as someone who helps implement changes rather than resists them, you position yourself as leadership material. Companies increasingly value employees who can not only weather change, but help others through it, turning potential career threats into advancement opportunities. The financial planning disconnect. Career success without wealth building. Your career's climbing, but is your bank account? While we've been talking about climbing the corporate ladder, there's another silent killer that might be keeping you from true financial success. It's the dangerous gap between earning well and actually building wealth. Let's be brutally honest here. That six-figure job title feels great, but it might be funding a lifestyle that leaves you just as financially vulnerable as someone making half your salary. The numbers don't lie. Many professionals who look successful on paper are financially fragile in reality. This disconnect hits hardest in your 30s. Mathematically, your most powerful wealth-building decade. Every dollar you invest now has significantly more growth potential than the same dollar invested a decade later. It's not just about time in the market. It's about which specific years those investments are growing. Think about this. When you delay investing in your 30s, you're not just missing out on a few years of returns. You're sacrificing the most powerful compound growth period of your entire life. That's why professionals who prioritize financial planning alongside career growth end up exponentially wealthier than those who focus solely on their paychecks. The mistake too many make is competing with peers through visible status symbols: the luxury car, the upgraded apartment, the exclusive vacations. I've worked with countless clients who've built impressive careers while their actual net worth remains stagnant or even negative due to lifestyle inflation and consumer debt. Without an emergency fund, you're just one unexpected expense away from financial disaster. That promotion means nothing if an illness, injury, or sudden job loss puts you in crisis mode because you lack basic financial protection. What's truly ironic is how meticulously many professionals plan their career moves while leaving their financial future to chance. They'll spend weeks crafting the perfect presentation for a promotion, but won't dedicate an hour to retirement planning or creating a proper investment strategy. Financial stress doesn't stay neatly contained in your personal life either. Research shows it directly impacts workplace performance, creativity, and decision-making. Employees worrying about money are demonstrably less productive and more likely to seek new employment, creating a dangerous cycle that undermines career progress. The solution requires applying the same strategic thinking to your finances that you bring to your professional development. Just as you wouldn't leave your career to chance, your financial security deserves intentional planning, regular review, and expert guidance when needed. The presentation avoidance syndrome, hiding your expertise from decision makers. Strategic thinking applies to more than just finances. It's also about how visible your expertise is at work. Did you know that 70% of executives believe your presentation skills matter more than your technical abilities? While you're quietly doing great work behind the scenes, someone less talented but more vocal is probably catching all the attention of decision makers. It's a pattern that plays out in offices everywhere. That colleague who always volunteers to present the team's findings? They're not just showing off. They're strategically positioning themselves in front of people who make promotion decisions. Meanwhile, brilliant ideas from quieter team members often go unnoticed, creating an invisible ceiling for otherwise talented professionals. Think about your own situation. You might be producing exceptional work that only your immediate supervisor sees. But what happens when leadership is discussing who should lead the next big project? They're going to remember the faces and voices they've seen confidently presenting in meetings, not the silent contributors they barely know. This presentation gap becomes especially problematic in your 30s, exactly when your career trajectory starts to depend less on individual task completion and more on your ability to influence groups. As one executive put it, "I can hire technical skills anywhere, but finding someone who can effectively communicate complex ideas to diverse audiences? That's rare and incredibly valuable." Many professionals try to rationalize their avoidance of public speaking. "I'm just not a natural presenter," or "my work should speak for itself," are common excuses. But here's the reality. Presentation skills aren't innate talents. They're learned abilities that improve with practice, just like any other professional skill. Consider the exponential difference in impact between one-on-one conversations and group presentations. When you meet individually with colleagues, your influence spreads one person at a time. But when you present to a group, you can simultaneously impact dozens of decision-makers, creating a multiplier effect for your visibility and influence. The good news? You don't need to transform into a TED Talk superstar overnight. Start small by volunteering to present in team meetings, then gradually work your way up to larger audiences as your confidence grows. Join organizations like Toastmasters, or take advantage of presentation skills training offered by your company. Record yourself practicing and watch it back. Uncomfortable at first, but incredibly valuable for improvement. The leadership lag. Waiting too long to develop people management skills. Beyond just presenting your ideas effectively comes the bigger challenge of leading others to execute them. Did you know that 6 out of 10 new managers crash and burn within their first 2 years? That painful statistic reveals the dangerous gap between being great at your job and being great at managing people who do that job. This leadership lag becomes especially damaging in your 30s, precisely when those first management opportunities typically appear on your career horizon. You've spent a decade mastering technical skills, but suddenly you're asked to motivate teams, resolve conflicts, and think strategically about business problems rather than just solving them yourself. The trap many professionals fall into is thinking their technical excellence will automatically translate to leadership success. "I'm the best engineer on the team, so I'll naturally be a great engineering manager." This assumption couldn't be further from reality. Leadership requires an entirely different neural pathway, one that most individual contributors haven't developed. Organizations that invest in leadership development see dramatically higher retention rates and employee satisfaction. Why? Because employees feel supported in their growth journey rather than being thrown into the deep end without swimming lessons. Yet most companies still promote based on technical prowess rather than leadership potential, creating a pipeline of managers who struggle to transition. The most critical skills for first-time managers include emotional intelligence, effective communication, and fostering collaboration. These capabilities don't magically appear when you get a title change. They need intentional development long before you're officially responsible for others' performance. Here's where smart professionals gain a massive advantage. They create leadership laboratories for themselves before the official promotion. Volunteer to onboard new team members. Offer to lead a small project team. Join cross-functional initiatives where you can practice influencing without authority. Mentor junior colleagues who could benefit from your expertise. Each of these micro-experiences builds your leadership muscles in low-risk environments. Creating a feedback culture is another essential component of leadership development. Start practicing this now by soliciting input from colleagues about your current work approach. This builds the habit of open communication that will serve you well when you're managing others. A lack of deliberate leadership preparation isn't just career limiting, it's potentially career destroying. When 70% of employees say they would leave their company for one that invests in their professional development, the stakes become clear. Your ability to lead effectively will determine whether your team stays and thrives or leaves and takes their talent elsewhere. The digital footprint oversight, your online presence is sabotaging opportunities. While leadership skills determine if your team stays or goes, there's another silent career killer lurking in places you might not expect: your digital footprint. Think that embarrassing Facebook post from 2015 is long forgotten? The shocking reality is that 57% of employers have rejected candidates based on what they found online. And most of those candidates never even knew why they didn't get the call. Your online presence is actively speaking for you when you're not in the room. It's like having a 24/7 representative of your professional brand that you've probably never properly trained. In today's hyper-connected world, your digital reputation arrives long before you do, creating impressions that can either open doors or slam them shut without warning. What's particularly concerning is how this oversight becomes more damaging as you progress through your 30s. As you're considered for roles with greater responsibility and visibility, your reputation becomes increasingly scrutinized. Potential employers, clients, and business partners are forming judgments based on your digital trail, often without your knowledge or consent. Many professionals fall into the dangerous trap of believing privacy settings will protect them. The truth? Screenshots, changing platform policies, and connections between different social accounts can expose supposedly private content in ways you never anticipated. That friends-only post complaining about your boss might be just one screenshot away from becoming very public knowledge. Surprisingly, the most damaging content isn't necessarily what you'd expect. While obviously inappropriate posts are problematic, recruiters report that inconsistency between claimed expertise and online behavior raises even bigger red flags. If you position yourself as a financial expert, but your social media reveals impulsive spending habits, that contradiction undermines your credibility far more than an occasional unprofessional post. Taking control of your digital footprint isn't optional anymore. It's a career necessity. Begin with a thorough audit. Google yourself, review all social platforms, even dormant ones, and evaluate what story your online presence tells. Remove problematic content, adjust privacy settings, and most importantly, start strategically creating professional content that showcases your true expertise. Your personal brand is essentially your story. What makes you unique? What values do you uphold? Define your narrative by identifying your strengths, skills, and qualities that set you apart. Then ensure this narrative remains consistent across all platforms. As research shows, 72% of CEOs now maintain a social media presence, recognizing its importance for professional credibility. Beyond just damage control, a well-managed online presence becomes a powerful career asset. A coherent personal brand attracts like-minded professionals, fosters new collaborations, and showcases your expertise to a global audience. The question isn't whether your digital footprint matters. It's whether you're actively shaping it or letting others define it for you. The wellness deficit, sacrificing health on the altar of success. Just as you carefully craft your online presence, there's another critical aspect of your professional toolkit that might be silently deteriorating while you chase career milestones. Your physical operating system, your body and mind, could be sending warning signals you're too busy to notice. Think about it. When was the last time you sacrificed sleep to meet a deadline, or grabbed fast food at your desk instead of taking a proper lunch? These seemingly small choices create a cumulative effect that can ultimately sabotage your success from within. Regular exercise doesn't just benefit your physical health, it actually enhances cognitive performance by up to 20%. Yet, ironically, 80% of professionals report skipping workouts because work obligations take priority. It's a dangerous trade-off that literally diminishes the very brain power you need to excel in your career. This wellness deficit becomes particularly threatening during your 30s, when your professional responsibilities are typically escalating just as your body becomes less forgiving. That invincible feeling you had in your 20s gradually fades as recovery takes longer, stress compounds more easily, and those all-nighters extract a steeper toll on your performance. Many ambitious professionals fall into the trap of viewing health as something they'll focus on someday, after landing that promotion, finishing that big project, or reaching some arbitrary career milestone. This mindset creates a dangerous postponement of wellness that can lead to burnout, decreased performance, and even serious health issues. Here's what many don't realize. When you're sleep-deprived, chronically stressed, and physically inactive, you're literally impairing the brain functions essential for career advancement. Your decision-making becomes compromised, creativity plummets, and emotional intelligence suffers. All critical components for leadership roles and high-level problem-solving. This isn't about choosing between career success and personal health. It's about recognizing they're fundamentally interconnected. Think of wellness not as separate from your career ambitions, but as the essential infrastructure supporting everything you hope to achieve professionally. The solution requires viewing health activities with the same priority you give important meetings or work deadlines. This means scheduling non-negotiable time for exercise, proper meals, adequate sleep, and stress management techniques. And defending those appointments as vigorously as you would a meeting with your CEO. Professionals engaged in regular wellness practices report not just better health outcomes, but increased engagement with their work and greater enthusiasm for pursuing their goals. The energy, focus, and resilience gained through proper self-care directly translates to improved workplace performance and career longevity. Let's face it, career transitions can be tough, especially after 30. With 66% of millennials contemplating a career change, you're not alone if you're feeling stuck. But here's what most people miss. Small, consistent changes in how you develop professionally can create massive growth over time. Bill Ekstrom, CEO of the Excel Institute, puts it perfectly. When professional development opportunities disappear, stagnation isn't just possible, it's inevitable. That's why addressing your career blind spots isn't optional. It's essential for transformation. Take Justin Gillespie's story. After facing major setbacks, he didn't just accept defeat. Instead, he strategically leveraged social media to completely reshape his career trajectory. The result? A dramatic increase in visibility and client inquiries that transformed his professional life. The truth is, your career ceiling isn't built by others. It's constructed through your own daily habits and blind spots. By recognizing and tackling these silent career killers, you're setting yourself up for exponential growth. Remember, your career isn't defined by any single decision.